Hi, in this video, we're going to learn about dimensions and how this can be used to size our components. Let's get started. Dimensions is an API that will allow us to use the height and width of our screen to size various components in our apps. In order to use dimensions, we first need to import it from React Native in the same place we've been importing each component being used. Once we have dimensions imported, we can then use dimensions.get to find the values of height and width. Though we could technically use this get statement directly to size our components, it will be much easier to save these values to variables that we can use much more easily throughout our program. For example, in this program, the top red box is being sized to fill 1/3 of the height of the entire screen. The blue bottom box is being sized to fill 2/3 of the height of the screen. The variable device height is being used inside these equations to size different components based on the height of the screen being used. We can also use these variables to control the size of our text and images. Here, the text with the title style will always be sized to 1/10 the screen height. The image will always have a height and width that is 1/3 the height of the screen. It is usually helpful to have both the width and height of the image dependent on only one dimension of the screen, so that the image will always keep the same aspect ratio. In this case, we always want the image to be a square. This will stay true because the height and width are both the same value, which is 1/3 of the screen height. Let's take a look at dimensions in the editor. We want to make an app with 4 view components of equal size using dimensions. So first we'll need to import dimensions at the top of our code. Then we can write our variable statements. So we'll write let device height equal dimensions dot get window dot height. And for our width, we'll use the same statement. We'll just sub width for height. Perfect. Now we're ready to use these variables inside our program. We already have our view components laid out and nested with a top and bottom component and left and right components inside each. Let's write these styles using the dimensions variables. We know we want the top and bottom components to each take up half of the height of the screen. So I'll write height equals device height divided by 2. And we'll use that exact same attribute inside the bottom component. I want to make sure that my left and right components line up next to each other. So I'm going to write flex direction row as well. Inside each left and right component, I want the height to be half the size of the screen as well. So I'll add that into each of those. And I want the width of each of them to be half the width. So I'll use device width divided by 2. Let's see how that looks. Awesome. Now I just want to take a quick look at this example. Here we see we have 3 text components and an image. If we look at the styles for each text component, you'll see that we're using the device height variable to set the font size. This is one of the benefits of using dimensions over flex values. We can set our text to size along with the screen. This is really helpful for our responsive layouts. We can also see that inside our image, we're using device height as well. This allows our images to resize based on the screen size too. Now it's your turn to try using dimensions to make responsive designs.